Alexandra, Jour-Schroeder, the Deputy Director General of DG FISMA. I'd be very keen to hear from you about FISMA's perspective on some of the things that we've been discussing, including maybe the international dimension.
Yes, Nickolas, a very good evening. And you said it already, it has become a good tradition that I join the Afore annual FinTech conference. I think it is now my third time I speak here, and it is always very, I have to say, enriching to see how quickly progress is made in this area and what we can do as regulators to help and facilitate digitalization and new technologies that are very much transforming finance. And as we are already late in the day, and no problem that you're running a little bit late, but I thought I should take it a bit short. And what I would maybe like to do is to recall again the main messages we would like to give from the perspective of the European Commission, where we stand, where we see the challenges, but of course the opportunities and what has been done. Maybe it helps those who are in your conference since 9 o'clock in the morning, just to give a short conclusion about the EU activities. But before I do that, I mean, I simply wanted to recall that certainly the many fintech solutions we see, and they are emerging very quickly, are really broadening access to finance. And that goes, of course, for both consumers and business. And this also brings with it that we see how quickly existing business models are changing, because we have a lot of very innovative market participants that join and deploy new technologies. And that is certainly a very, very good message also for Europeans' competitiveness. And then as a regulator, you have, of course, ask yourself the question, what do we do in all this? Do we let the market work? Do we need to intervene? And what is our role? And here it was very clear that we see our role in making most of these new opportunities to facilitate them, but also look a bit at the challenges they all bring. And there are also, of course, some risks that come inevitably with them. And this is basically what is in the Commission's digital finance strategy. And I would still like to stress that with this strategy, we have made a conscious choice to regulate across many areas of digital finance, simply because we thought we need rules. But I have listened a bit in this conference today, and of course there are also sometimes opinions that feel that one has to be cautious not to over-regulate. But again, I think we did it in the way because we thought there is room to do that and a need to do that. And we have also done it in close cooperation with our international partners, and also were available at least on international standards, because we know that these are not only European but general problems. But still, I have to say, in many instances, we are the legislative front runner. But again, to the more core question, why we thought regulation is needed. And I think my first point would be to stress that it is to create legal certainty, both for consumers but also for the markets. Because for the markets, legal certainty is essential to ensure that new services that come up very quickly enjoy passporting rights and go across borders in the single market we have. And this is absolutely necessary to spread innovative services in the EU, to allow them to develop and to scale up. But legal certainty also very important for consumers, because it is important that their rights are respected if we move to new business models, but also in case they are enforced in case of this ever-changing digital environment, and so important that we can safeguard consumer trust. But of course, being a regulator, I have also to have to keep in mind the position of regulators, where legal certainty means that they are able to monitor certain risks that come with new business ideas, because digital finance is still finance after all, where we have to be vigilant to address and to prevent risks to market integrity, of course, financial stability, but also consumer protection, because those, and if you allow me this expression, do not simply magically disappear because we are moving to online. And therefore, regulation also ensures that our strong values, and just let me quote a few: data protection, consumer protection, are also embedded in digital trends that are changing finance. Maybe very quickly, although it may, however, we have said today in many instances, to give you a short summary where we stand today in the most important ones of our initiatives. And let me start with crypto assets. I think I don't have to tell the audience about MiCA. It is now actually into force in 6 months, if I have calculated correctly. And what is really a very important feature is that it brings crypto markets fully in the regulated space by addressing risks, consumer protection, market integrity, and financial stability. And again, I think we are quite proud, and we have also reasons to be proud, that this framework is possibly the most globally comprehensive framework to enable innovation related to crypto assets, while also addressing the risks that brings, and therefore also creating the sufficient legal certainty that is needed for the market, but also for consumers. There is a lot of work to be done to bring the legal framework into concrete rules that are applied in practice. Many crucial details that have been left are now ironed out in our EU secondary legislation, and we are currently working very hard with the European supervisory authorities to prepare a very comprehensive body of regulatory standards that will then make the crypto asset framework of the European Union work in practice. I was just listening in, and DORA was mentioned. Indeed, this is another very important deliverable of our digital finance strategy, because all what we want to do digital can only work if people feel safe, and therefore digital operational resilience is really absolutely core. And I have also realized that it is already now a year ago that DORA entered into force. And with that, we indeed have a truly, I have to say, it's really the best expression, a truly common regime, how financial firms will manage ICT risks, report on ICT-related incidents, how they test their operational resilience, and of course, and I think this is possibly the most important one, how they manage their ICT risks stemming from third parties. And again, there's a lot of work ongoing to implement the DORA general rules by a number of secondary legislation that will then make the DORA framework, bring it into operation. And again, and as I have the opportunity, I would also like to thank the European supervisory authorities and all the committees in the authorities for having worked so hard to bring these regulatory standards to life, so that we are fully on track. And the idea is still, and I'm confident that we will manage, that we get DORA live by the end of this year as planned. And so also financial institutions in Europe who have also a lot of work to done need to get ready as well. Maybe if you allow me, Nickolas, a few words on open finance, what we now call financial access to data, because this for us is a major change again in our digital regulatory landscape, in order to bring also technology-driven trends when it comes to the greater use of data and data sharing, really to the practical operation. Because while today financial services are among the biggest users and producers of data, it is true that little data is shared beyond payment accounts, where we have the PSD2 in place. And again, this idea to go for more open finance is driven by two objectives. First of all, it's a very user-centric legislation, enabling basically users of financial services, and they can be all consumers, business, to have greater control how they use their data and who can access it. But at the same time, we are confident that we bring with this greater appetite or use of data also better financial products for consumers and business. So all around data sharing, more data sharing is also about putting innovation at the service of consumers. And therefore, it is, in our view, a very important but quite innovative project we have started. It's still, of course, in negotiation, so maybe a little bit too early to see the final contours. But we really would like the co-legislators who are now looking into the text to push this file as much forward as they can in the little time left under this mandate, because it is so important to us. Last but not least, the digital euro. When you cannot speak about the EU's digital finance agenda without mentioning it, and there will also be some talks still tonight, and possibly there has been a lot of discussion about this project today. I think I don't have to recall all the details, but we really are convinced that we need also public digital money because of the trends we see in using going digital, and therefore we need to make the euro we are using in cash also fit for the digital age. And as you know, there is a lot of work going on now in the negotiations. And that is very important because this needs to be a democratic project. It's not a technical gimmick, but it's really a game changer also for our citizens. And therefore, we will certainly play our role in these negotiations. And at the same time, of course, there is important work ongoing in the European Central Bank, especially on the many technical issues that have to be addressed. But again, it's not a technical project. It is really game changer for our society. So it's also important that the different choices where we go needs to be clearly debated. But with that, I conclude because we are running indeed a little bit late, and maybe simply to recap again that we have seen quite a lot of legislation in the last 4 years in Europe, but exactly to fulfill the objective I have quoted, to create legal certainty. I think we have been ambitious in our approach, but we thought we really need to do that in order, first of all, to give the markets but also consumers the necessary security. What comes next? Well, I think it's a little bit early, but as we are moving and of course looking into the new trends, maybe just very briefly, I think what is certainly an important topic we will have to address is decentralized finance, without today going into the detail, but how to manage the situation where we have no intermediaries anymore is certainly something we cannot simply ignore. And then, of course, what to do with artificial intelligence, providing a lot of opportunities, but also bringing risks. Nickolas, that's certainly something we can discuss next year again at your conference. It's not that we are without anything, but I think we need also to see a bit, not only the horizontal rules that are very important, but also is that what can we do? What do we have to do something or not in the area of finance? So with that, I stop here, and again, thanks for organizing this FinTech conference. Is always very useful for all of us. And with that, Nickolas, back to you. Thank you very much indeed.
No, first of all, thank you, Alexandra, and also for having borne with us. And yes, a few reactions, really quick reactions. Number one is, yes, we'd love to have you back again. Thanks for supporting us the last few years, and you will receive an invitation for next year. Secondly, yes, thank you for recapping some of these issues, because what's interesting, after the conference, we see that we have about 800 participants, but they link into different bits that are interesting for them. So therefore, thank you for kind of recapping some of these issues now in the afternoon, which does to a large extent cover different audiences to the morning. And yes, you've done a lot, and your team. And I think I applaud you for that. And just a few words of thank you, because legal certainty, yes, it started with the Payment Services Directive. MiCA is creating legal certainty now for a whole new market, a very, very important piece in development. Operational resilience, we just came out of a discussion about supply chains and vulnerabilities in supply chains, and you addressed that. Some might say maybe not always perfectly, but you addressed a key issue for the market as a whole. Open finance, we talked about that. I thank you for saying this, because I also, from a scope, see it as a consumer protection or more as a consumer empowerment piece of legislation. And we should never forget that important role. On the digital euro, yes, we see what happens, but one thing that came out of today is what many want is a wholesale digital euro. I know it's for the ECB to decide rather than you, but many really are keen on seeing it being used for financial infrastructures and to improve processes. But what I like is, and I don't know whether you listen to Chris and Carlo, is what's missing is we should embed the debate on the digital euro into our debate on European values and Western values, and not as something that stands against those values, which is, I'm afraid, what I'm seeing in some political circles at the moment. It's a shame. And looking forward, yes, we will come back to the decentralized finance next time, because we know it will be, I think, more concrete. And we will come back to these issues. And I think we don't need to do much. The market evolves so quickly, as you said at the beginning, that we seem to always have subjects to cover. Thank you very much for being with us, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.